Okay, thank you all for joining us tonight. If you have any questions as the webinar goes on, please use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Our speaker tonight is Dr. Christina Lane, Director of the Criminal Investigation Resource Center, or CIRC. She is on faculty here at Russell Sage College and a criminologist. She founded the idea of students working on real cases and has built amazing relationships with law enforcement agencies at the local, state, and federal levels. We are thrilled to have her with us tonight, along with two of our students. And now I'm going to hand it over to her. Dr. Lane?
Hello there. Good evening. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Feel free also, if you can, ask me questions. It looks like that we are small enough, so you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask me questions and interrupt. I'm very open to that. So welcome. So this is a presentation about what we have at Russell Sage College, the Criminal Investigation Resource Center. At the Criminal Investigation Resource Center, here we go. It is led by me, Dr. Christina Lane, and also Dr. Chris Kunkel. Dr. Chris Kunkel is the forensic psychologist that adds the elements of assessment and interpretation of perpetrators' behaviors and also victims' behaviors on a psychological slant. And I, as a criminologist, is more focused on criminal behavior and predatory and deviant behavior and how people respond, which definitely helps out quite a bit when we start breaking down our cases, which we will get into a lot more further. But first, I do want to talk about how the idea came about. So as you can tell here in 2019, the crisis of cold cases was identified, as you can see here, by the Office of Justice. Okay, so the Department of Justice. So the issue here when we come to the crisis of cold cases is that the crisis is presented is because there is a backlog of unresolved cases. So if you look at these numbers here, there are more than 250,000 unresolved murder cases, 20,000 unresolved missing persons cases, and also 14,000 unresolved unidentified persons. To help you identify what unresolved people are, unidentified people, I'm sorry, a little rusty right now. But what that means is that these are bodies or skeletal remains that are found that could not be identified. So you have a large number of individuals that people have no idea who they are, and they could possibly be missing persons, or they could also be victims of a murder. Now, going back to the backlog of unresolved cases, if you think about it here, as you can tell here, is that 52.3% of these cases are cleared or solved. The remaining of these cases are not. And then when you look at police agencies and how right now that they are low on getting police officers and recruiting them, they also lack the resources, and these resources become stretched. So also to add to this, despite them having cold case units, these cold case units are relatively small or non-existent. And this is where we come in to try to be utilized more like a tool. So with this idea here, it formed the creation of the Criminal Investigation Resource Center. Now, we can say that this is one of two centers in New York State, but when you compare what we do versus what other colleges and universities do, we are very different. We have partnerships with multiple agencies, and it is not like we only get one case a year and we work on that only that one case. If students, or if you have interest in working and understanding one case, that's what we do in our coursework or courses that I teach, like criminal behavior analysis, serial killers, sexual deviance and criminality, and so on. So when we have these elements here, is that this is not playing around with cases, is that we actually produce a professional product, and that we can be used for a tool to actually increase momentum on these cases. I'm sorry, I'm having problems with my computer. All right. So, how CIRC works. And these are just some of the things that we offer. Our interns, we offer training and experience to students to show them what is needed to analyze unresolved cases. We also have relationships over and beyond with police agencies, with community agencies, or even government agencies like the Division of Criminal Justice. We also have a relationship with the Center of Hope, and we also have relationships and help with events that are centered around missing persons. We are involved in Missing Persons Day and also the Ride of Missing Persons to offer our help. What's involved here for the interns is development of critical thinking, problem solving, and also, I cannot say enough here, large scale organizational skills. So when we get cases, we get them in its entirety. Photos of the crime scene, autopsy, of all the evidence, every single report that was done on the case. And some of these cases can be as much as 14 file boxes large. So it is a huge monumental task for us to step in and figure out ways that is best to organize this, because each homicide, each missing persons case is unique, and you have to step in and come in into a different slant. What kind of major? You can be in any major. It's not a problem. But the main thing that we have to highlight here is to get into CIRC at Russell Sage is that you have to take one of my classes. Now, this is very important because I need to see what kind of student and what kind of individual you are, so I can see if you're a person that can be relied upon, takes initiative. It's not only based on GPA. I have to see if you are a person of integrity and a person who is willing to put the hours in and time and be understanding that we are talking about people here that met a very unfortunate demise. And as I already said here, we give back to the community. So when we continue here, how you give back to the community is the skills in certain areas. So we offer these resources for cold case initiatives. You volunteer. We create professional product. So that is what makes us stand out across any cold case program that's across the nation. We produce a professional product that police can use. This is not giving ideas to police and meeting and making it a learning process. That's what you do as coursework. If you are an intern at CIRC, you are truly working on a case, and we're trying to get a product to assist police as opposed to police to create learning opportunities for students. And by doing this, you can actually see the difficulties that are faced by professionals, by forensic psychologists, criminologists, criminal investigators, and forensic scientists when you're working on these cases. You realize that in order, what's needed to establish probable cause to search a property and how to properly present that in the information and what we put together. You have to understand that you cannot put in your interpretations or your opinion. This is something that has to stand up in the court of law, and therefore it has a higher burden of proof. So you have to state the facts. You have to properly identify the logic patterns that are there. If you start getting a little bit opinionated and you can't substantiate your conclusions, it's not going to work, and police will not want to work with you. So this idea and what we do of a professional product is a very high bar to maintain, in which the interns are guided by the experts, which is Dr. Kunkel and I. So the question is, what do we do? So what do the interns engage in? Now, when they come into the center, you are working for the center. You are no longer a student. You're an actual intern. So what I usually do is I assign students cases. There is a case leader, and usually I try my best for the case leader to have experience. So they've been part of CIRC for a year or more. And you are given a case, and I say, familiarize yourself with it. This is you have to figure out what it's about before you can figure out how to put it together. And many investigators understand that the key to any of these cases is organization. And I have been asked this in media saying, you can't just say you organize things. But yes, that is important, is making the case whole again. Because after all the years and the many hands and fingers of detectives and investigators, is that the case becomes more and more fragmented, and it's not a unified narrative anymore of what truly happened and who was interviewed. So this shows how important this is and what the interns do when they sit down and start working on these cases. So what do CIRC interns do? Now, this is just identifying some elements. It's not all of them. But I also said organize, but not only when you're organizing, you get the feel for the case, then you have to decipher, what is this? What does this mean? Why is it here? And then you have to identify, where should this go? And, that is difficult to do. The students do create a pile needs a home, because you can't be slowed down. But when you go back and return to that pile needs a home, after you've gone through the whole case, you start to realize where those files will best be suited to fit and be put together. We do work with various levels of law enforcement. We work with the FBI. We work with the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children. We also have worked with the ATF, Division of Criminal Justice, various law enforcement. So at the also local level. So whenever the students are assigned to the case, they do meet with the law enforcement. So when we feel like we have gotten to a point in order to present information and say we have put these pieces so far together, we have a meeting with law enforcement. They also have the I guess the learning process, as you might say, of meeting with victims' families, to see that other side. Besides just law enforcement, it also see the victims and what they're going through and trying to find justice. They have to construct victimology. So when I talk about victimology, is when you have a crime and you arrive at the crime scene, all you have is the victim and the information that is about the victim's background. Then you could start later on identifying suspects or possible people that may be suspicious. At the end of everything and putting together and engaging in crime reconstructions, and once the whole case is pieced together, we can make recommendations of forensics. You cannot just make kind of a shotgun approach to forensics. Test it all. That's very costly. So when we make these recommendations, we say we believe this one item should be tested, and we think that that would be the most viable and most informative item to produce a lead. They also interpret crime scene photos. The one thing that I believe helps right away, I'm sure my interns could elaborate on later, is that you look at the crime scene photos first, and that will already give you an idea and feel of what the case is about. They also do archival research to establish context. In one 1964 case, one of our interns constructed a whole map of the area to get a better understanding of where this one little girl that was killed, where she walked, and which buildings were still standing. We also locate people for these cold cases. Some of these people we have to identify to see if they're alive or dead. And if they are dead, we do identify, possibly for DNA, if it gets to that point, about people that might be related to people of interest. And of course, there is the media level and trying to get more awareness about cases. So now we're here, what it means to work on a cold case for our interns. I have two wonderful interns here, Morgan and Emma. Morgan is a criminal justice major, and Emma is a forensic science major. You guys do not necessarily have to read what you wrote, but maybe other people, if they have questions right now for the people who are part and is an intern of CIRC, you're more than welcome to ask questions if you have any. So, Morgan and Emma, you're welcome. If you what we went over already, do you want to elaborate on anything? Gotta unmute yourselves.
I don't think I have anything more to elaborate on, but unless somebody has questions, then I can answer something.
I agree with Emma.
Okay. All right. So let's have you read your quotes that you've built, and then we'll see if there's any specific questions for you as interns. So Morgan, here is your quote amongst other interns, but go ahead.
Okay, hi, I'm Morgan. So, from a very early age in childhood, I've been interested in criminal justice and law enforcement. Um, I used to watch criminal justice shows with my grandpa all the time, so it kind of got me into this. And so this program has really been a turning point in being able to view how my future career as a cold case detective, um, really how they truly view the cases and that these cases we're looking at, it gives them a chance to be solved and resolved instead of unresolved and them just being a statistic. So it helps bring victims to justice no matter how long time has passed.
Thank you, Morgan. And then we'll get to Emma. Here's yours, Emma.
Hi, I'm Emma. Um, I've been in Dr. Lane's classes since I was a freshman here at Sage. So I've been in CIRC since then too. So I'm a junior now. I've been there pretty much my whole time, and I plan on being there next year also. Um, and I said that being able to feel like I'm actually doing something valuable for somebody is really meaningful to me. And doing some of my tasks include organizing cases, meeting the officers who are currently working on the case, being able to see law enforcement use the information that we had, and hearing the officers say that we had done a good job on some case and organizing really encourages me to be here and to be able to do this.
Thank you, Emma. And Emma and Morgan, could you possibly like elaborate on the kind of work that you do, or when you first came into CIRC, or the teamwork that's involved in working with others? Could you guys maybe elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, so the work that I have been doing a lot of recently in this case that I'm on now, is we got, as Dr. Lane knows, 6 boxes of just papers everywhere. We had to go through every single one through duplicates, make sure that there are miscellaneous things in there that are just not related to the case. Um, and pretty much we are going by, put them all interviews and such into a specific person who they're about. And right now we're sorting through by date, and then we will scan those onto a USB drive and make it all pretty like.
Which is kind of the professional product. But it's not only the organizing. Emma and her team they are putting everything together and make sense of the story of a very young girl that was killed after a party. And I'm sure when you see such horrible things happen to adolescents like that, you really probably drives, well, I know it drives the group to want to put something together so that the police agency can take action. And that's what they do, is as soon as they see the organization of these files, they know what to do and they want to jump in and move forward. Morgan, you have really been involved in CIRC. You are taking it right now for 9 credits, a lot of hours a week. What motivated you to take that move, in your final semester to get immersed with these cold cases? What do you like the most about it?
Okay, so really when I first started a cold case last year in the fall, it was very overwhelming. I didn't know anyone. I was new and I didn't really find my clique, I guess. But now that I've found my favorite partner in CIRC, it makes it really easy and truly rewarding to help. because we work so well together. And so in looking at my future, I want to be a cold case detective. So instead of taking electives that may help me, CIRC was more a chance to further my knowledge and really work towards becoming a cold case detective. So instead of taking like classes where I may not know or may not understand a lot, I chose something I could do and understood perfectly well from doing it from so long. So now I take 9 credits of CIRC plus my other 2 classes. And yeah.
Yes. And both of them have done very much heavy lifting. There's also transcribing of many interviews with Emma is familiar with. You know, you do a lot of serious work that's needed to unify a case again in order for officers to move forward on it. And I truly believe the students and the interns see that, because when they get the condition of the files, like Emma said, there is no way a detective will have time to move forward on a case like that, to organize it and get rid of all the duplicates and start making sense of it, especially with dealing with more current cases that need the attention than the older ones.
And Dr. Lane, you have a question from the audience to be asked.
Okay,
The person
sure,
has
go
the
ahead.
ability to speak, so they can go ahead.
Okay.
Hi, Dr. Lane. I'm Patty Sparrow, a SAGE alum from many years ago and a past Board of Trustee member. And Emma and Morgan, thank you very much for sharing your stories and your experiences. When I went to SAGE back in the dark ages, this was not available. And this is just so cool that you ladies have this opportunity. Just out of curiosity, did you come to SAGE to participate in this curriculum, or did you find out about it once you were here? And if so, how did you learn about it? Either one or both of
I
you are more
didn't.
than welcome to answer. Yeah, go ahead, Morgan. Emma, sorry.
You're good. I came to Sage mostly based off of a scholarship, and I am mainly on the biology side. But with my forensics, I did have to take a few criminal justice or law classes, and that's how I ended up in one of Dr. Lane's classes. And she asked me, "Are you going to be doing CIRC?" And I said, "What's that?" And she said, "Well, let me show you." And I have been here since. So that's how I've ended up here.
Excellent, excellent. How about you, Morgan?
So I also came here based on a scholarship. I had no idea the school even existed. And so really, my roommate had mentioned it to me because she was in CIRC, and I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. And then I had actually taken one of Dr. Lane's classes. I think my first class was mass murder, if I'm not mistaken, or the nature of crime. And I really fell in love with how they were planned and like how you're shown everything. It's not held back from you. And then I had to take an internship, so I had asked Dr. Lane if I could possibly do this, and now I'm here, and I haven't left.
Oh, excellent. And Dr. Lane, how many students are enrolled in the classes or the curriculum nowadays?
So, well, are you asking how many interns are in CIRC then?
Sure.
Okay, so right now I have about 28 students, and I have
Wow.
3 of them which are grad students. We have a possibility of developing a new partnership, so I've been talking to Teresa Hand. We might need more space in order to compensate for these larger cases that will be coming in. So I might be pushing that up more to 40 interns and managing them. In the forensic psychology program, we have currently about 40 majors, and I think that program started about a year and a half ago. And also the criminal justice majors, they're increasing in tandem, as opposed to coming in 12 majors, we're getting 20 or more majors in criminal justice in the fall. And right now, because CIRC's only been around since the spring of 2024, now we have the students in my class. So I teach serial killers, and I have about 40 students in that. And many of them come to me and are telling me, I am coming here at Sage for CIRC. I want to be part of this and make a difference. And I know many of my interns, they see the difference that they are making. And and how rewarding it is to know that they are making a difference, especially in undergrad, and applying what they have learned in criminal justice, forensic psychology, or whichever interest it is, to further other people's lives. So it's really a special opportunity that the students are given.
Oh, that's fantastic. Hats off to you for bringing the program to Sage. And glad to hear that the interest is growing and it's so important to society. And it's a great opportunity for Sage to make a name for itself, along with many of the other growth avenues that are going on right now. Kudos to the team. Thanks.
Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions? Okay, let's move on here. I am so sorry, I'm going the wrong way. Our partners. I didn't put this slide in before I move forward to the media attention we had at late, but I think it is amazing. It is an honor and privilege for police agencies to take that step of faith in us. It is really unheard of for police agencies to give you a complete case file. And not only that, to get to the point of that, the detectives sit there and listen to what the students have to say. They listen, and also there is one agency that invites us to come when they have meetings with victims or other agencies, because they see us as the ones who know the case the most, and they want us to be there so we can provide answers right there and then without having to come back and have another meeting. So it is quite the honor and privilege. I am amazed that we have about, I don't count really, but 8 to 10 partners that give us cases. The detectives come into CIRC to sit down and talk and see how far we moved on a case. And it is just really, it amazes me for this opportunity that happens every year. And we keep getting more and more agencies coming forward and saying, can you help us too? So I cannot say it's an honor. It is such an honor. And you can see here, crime scene, do not cross. That's police officers. And to actually say that they allow us to cross now and be part of the group is just phenomenal, because it really is teamwork that is involved in solving cold cases. So what Dr. Kunkel and I have put together, the program since 2018, the program does work. Our method does work. We actually have people coming in, and in law enforcement too, and saying, we want your help on this. We want to move forward. We want to get more detectives interested in working on this case, but we don't have time to actually put it together. And to show that it works, we've had surprisingly successes already from the cases that Dr. Kunkel and I have applied our method. And our first method was the Albany Police Department. These are our first partners ever. And you may have seen us in the news in last October regarding the Catherine Blackburn homicide. She was killed in 1964. She was a 50-year-old woman who was showing her upstairs flat and was attacked from behind. The presentation of her body was clearly an organized killer that really drove Dr. Kunkel and I to have quite a bit of persistence to try to resolve this case. It's just like, this guy can't get away with this. We got to identify him. Dr. Kunkel and I, we have raised almost $20,000 for this case. And also Sage interns, even though we just started at Russell Sage in 2024, we've had interns that worked and actually finalized the product of this case here file to be handed over to the police chief when it was resolved. In October, we made the formal news conference announcement that the serial predator Joseph Nowakowski was identified as killing Catherine Blackburn. This individual was not known as a serial killer, but through the process of identifying him through forensic genealogy, we were able to see his arrest history or criminal history. He was caught twice in the Albany area, and they called it a burglary kit. But when you look at the photos of the burglary kit, it is clearly a murder kit. It had handcuffs, razor blades, knives, a gun. So he wasn't only a burglar, he had other goals. We actually believe that he is a sexual sadist. He was finally arrested in 1973, so he killed Catherine Blackburn in 1964. 1973, the Schenectady Police Department actually arrested him and charged him only for burglary and assault. The reason being because the woman that he attacked and intended to leave her for dead woke up in her own pool of blood with razor blade incisions all over her body. So we are in the process right now with, of course, our partners in Albany to try to identify other killings that he may have been part of. And because of our agency's partnerships, we have reached out to them and we're collecting other files and engaging in case linkage to see if it's possibly these are other victims and seek resolution for the families. The next case in media attention that we have been part of when utilizing the same program and method was when we worked with the Colony Police Department. Ruth Whitman, her body was found in Colony in the drainage ditch of Sand Creek Road. Because of the organization, and also we received assistance from Russell Sage's Dr. Mercedes Fabian, who's a forensic anthropologist. The detective saw the case and how well organized it was, and he was able to put together the argument for her exhumation and also to get funding to test her fingernails. We were able to put together the information to prove that there is a possibility that the perpetrator's DNA may be under her fingernails. They sent her fingernails after exhumation to Bodie's lab, and they did identify DNA. Unfortunately, through buccal swabs and trying to compare it to the DNA, they have not been successful yet. So they're seeking more funding to do further forensic testing to see if they could identify the perpetrator through different means. And it's just phenomenal. We were invited to the exhumation, and whenever we get invited to exhumations or walking the crime scene, I always invite the team that was involved for these cases. So we have people, the turns come here and actually watch the exhumation and the process that's involved with that. The next case that we were involved in organizing and putting together and causing the momentum of the teamwork involved was the killing of the newborn baby Moses that was found in Washington Park here in Albany by the Moses statue. The baby was basically a neonate. He was killed hours after birth. Mizuka, who was identified, which is the mother, she was very callous in her confessions. And the reason they were able to identify her is through the coordination and networking with the FBI for Albany PD. The FBI, as I can tell you, forensic testing is so important and the cost is immense. So the FBI covered the cost to test and find out who were the parents of the baby. They were able to identify her, and through interrogation, she actually came forward immediately and said she killed her baby and right after he was born, and she was planning to kill her baby weeks prior to its birth. She, as you can tell here, that she is serving 25 years for you to tells you in itself how callous this crime was. The next case that we're part of, which you've seen, is Mary Teresa Simpson. We made the announcement in February. Mary Teresa Simpson is the 14-year-old. She was killed in Lover's Lane. The method of how she was killed is that the perpetrator or the child predator, he panicked when she started screaming and commenced to shove forest debris down her throat, and by stuffing the forest debris down her throat caused her to asphyxiate and die. And through this here, we weren't involved in getting funding for testing. We were purely organize the case, digitize the case. And because of what we did in putting the case pieces together actually led to keep the momentum up. That starting from our involvement in this case from 2024, they solved the case last year in 2025 because of that the case being organized and the multiple agencies that were involved were able to see the case, see what's next. And also the Elmira Police Department were able to ask us questions and we gave them answers quickly based on how we put the case together. And I was so flattered that they wanted us to be present for the news conference and said that they wouldn't have been able to keep the momentum going if it wasn't for the involvement of our interns. And this case here, because of the momentum, and I felt that momentum in 2024, I did assign 20 interns immediately at Russell Sage to start working on this to get a product done before the spring semester ended. And we did get that done, and it's phenomenal. Of course, you're probably wondering who the perpetrator was in the news conference. And the perpetrator for this case is Alfred Murray. This is the John Doe. And the amazing thing is here with forensic genetic genealogy is that it is excellent method for these cases when a stranger is involved. This man lived 5 minutes away from this 14-year-old girl, and he wasn't identified anywhere in the 6,000 pages of this case. So genealogy was the only way to go. The phenomenal thing too to add to this is that Elmira Police Department from 1964 held on to her skirt in the freezer all these years for testing. And that's just amazing. And they were able to get evidence from that and able to get DNA from it to identify this individual. Of course, he is deceased and they had to exhume him to get a full DNA profile to upload to CODIS, which is the DNA database that is utilized to identify perpetrators through other DNA testing. And I invited the students that were involved in being part of this. And it's amazing the exposure the students that went to this exhumation, they saw the teamwork was involved. It was the sheriff, it was the city police, it was the FBI, it was NECMEC. So many people coming together and so happy to see resolution for this case. And I think it was a beautiful exposure to show that it's not just one person that solves a case, it's many people that help solve a case. And it's just phenomenal. And like I have said before, quite the honor for us to be part of to see that.
Dr. Lane, you have
Another
a question from the crowd.
Yeah, go ahead.
How are the cases that you work on chosen? Do the police departments set the priorities or do you have a choice?
Okay, it is the police departments. So usually the police departments, one agency, we're working on this. We want to move forward. We found something, but the DA is having a hard time working with us. Same with us. Can you put this case together for us? Another agency, they have such a large amount of unresolved cases and they put them up on their website. Sometimes they ask us, do you have interest in anyone? They do ask us, but usually we say, which ones do you want us to work on? We don't care who it is, how the person was killed. We don't have any preference. The main thing is making sure that these cases get attention and to encourage detectives with the limited time they have to work on these unresolved cases to actually want to work on these cases because they see finally a unified case and they can find the information quickly. So usually the police departments dictate what's needed and they usually ask me, how many cases do you need? I give them a little heads up that we're going to be finishing off the one case or the 2 cases off soon, and then they'll pick more for us to work on. They also, some agencies ask us to hold on to the cases and then give them copies because they say we like the idea that you are the holders of information and that information is still understood no matter about the changes of rank and advancement of promotion of detectives that might be reassigned to different cases. Then the new detective comes in and they could talk to us and we know the case.
How many cases might students be working on at a time? Do they specialize in a certain case? Do you divide them up?
I divide them up right now. I have 28 interns. We work, I think it's cut down. We had 18 cases right now for the year. Now we're down to 14 because we're kind of tying up loose ends on the other cases we finished and returned. So each student, the happy number for teamwork is 2 or 3. However, when we have cases that have momentum, all of a sudden I will shuffle students around and they will start. I think we had 10 students on one case to actually show a quick turnaround in product so police won't get so distracted on one suspect to confirm that is this suspect viable or not. And when we constructed and started putting the pieces of the case together, we showed them immediately, like in 3 weeks, this is not a viable person. They were disappointed, but they were very appreciative that they didn't have to waste their time in getting more information on that individual. Any other questions? No? Okay. This is my last slide. Despite the successes I just went over, it is very rare to move cases forward like this. I never anticipated it. It's just phenomenal. I never come in with ego saying, I'm going to solve this case. It is more about what it says here. No victim is forgotten. And that's what it's about, you know, to put these files, as Morgan and Emma talked about, that are many hands have been in it, many photocopies over and over again, and trying to make sense of it, that we are actually to bring the case back together again, and then detectives can see the narrative. I had one, he's a major now. He said that just by digitizing and organizing the case is justice on its own. So, because when you look at all these paperwork and then you bring it up to the technology of today, is a huge lift, and they are so appreciative of it. But the exciting thing is each case we touch, the officers come in and they just start working on it. It's amazing. They start, following up and submitting evidence because they know what's there now. And so it's not really about resolution of these cases, it's momentum and bringing these cases back to life in today's technology, and hoping that today's technology will provide some new avenues for officers to resolve these cases. And as I showed you, the one case of Mary Teresa Simpson is actually one of the oldest cases in the United States to get DNA from. Catherine Blackburn was killed the same year, but she was killed in the fall. Mary Teresa Simpson was killed in March of the same year. And the last thing I do have to say is, even though I talk about the program that Dr. Kunkel and I have developed, the program is an empty shell if it wasn't for the interns that we have. The work and diligence and commitment that our interns do is amazing. And for them to find justice for these families and what they do day in and day out for the center, I think is phenomenal. And this could never be done without them.
Dr. Lynn, you talked a little bit about the professionalism required. These are interns. They are producing a professional product for police. How do you sort of see that education go with the students in terms of helping them to understand how serious this is? You have a lot of strong rules around confidentiality. People just can't walk into CIRC. It's a protected area because of the nature of what they're working on. Can you talk about how that matures a student and how they may have come in just fascinated with true crime podcasts and things and shows on TV, and then they learn the level of professionalism necessary to handle this information and to keep it confidential?
Yes, the level of expectation for this professionalism, behavior wise, and also the product. The product that we try to produce is above an A plus. It's a higher bar, because we don't want to make it work for the police. We want to make their job easier. So there's a greater expectations, but the students also have a greater responsibility. So one example is an ex-husband, which is cliche, it happens, kills his wife, buries her, but we have to make sure we are thorough when we're putting the case together. She's missing, but if we put the case together in a poor way, it might show when detectives look at it and they're going to walk away and go, there's nothing here we can do here. We can't dig up where we think his wife's body is. So we have a lot of responsibility in how these cases are put together properly, clearly, concisely. And the students understand that. And it is an arduous process. I know Morgan and Emma, they've done it over and over again. You organize it, and then you got to reorganize it, to get that clear narrative. So there's a lot of weight and responsibility on the students' shoulders. And for them to start developing that and understand it, this is not fun and games. This is people's and families' real lives. And I also tell them that this is such an honor that we get to have these complete case files. And these are people that once were. And within the storage area where we have all the cases, I have started putting every homicide that we are working on the wall and also putting a victim's picture beside that. So when you walk in and take your case every day, you see the victims looking back at you and to remind them, and also me, that these are people. This is not true crime. This is not podcast. This is not entertainment anymore. This is real work, real research, and it's definitely serious. And all my interns understand that, right down to being particular, as we always talk about that photocopier. You got to make sure that photocopier doesn't cut anything off, because one little information bit of it, if it's missing, that's a one puzzle piece. And we had one detective, she was writing something for the grand jury using our binder, and she said the organization was spectacular. She just flipped the one divider to one page, and she saw that page and goes, that's what I need. That one report, that one page. And that would have never been found if it wasn't for the interns organizing this case. So what the interns do and what CIRC does is very important, but there is also high expectations of confidentiality. Any violation of the confidentiality agreement, you could be found criminally liable by the police agencies. You also will be found as academic dishonesty and can be kicked out of Russell Sage College. So we do stress it immediately. This is the real thing. This is not fun and games. You are here to make a difference. And if you come into the center and play with your phone that time, you're not going to be there long, because that's really disrespectful to the victims that we're working on. So it is an honor, it's a privilege, but yet it's something very serious for what we have to do. And I think that the interns all understand that because of the commitment and the initiative that they all take.
And one question for Emma or Morgan, whoever would like to jump in. How do you feel your experiences over these years? Morgan, you're deeply immersed in this with 9 credits. How do you think that's going to translate to you in the work world post-graduation?
So I think it's really going to help because this is what I want to do. And to be able to take 9 credits of CIRC and just look at other detectives' work and say, oh, well, maybe they could look at this angle. It's like really helpful to me to show that like this is what I want to do and this is how interns at CIRC do it, but police might do it differently. So when it's put in a box and we first look at a case, it's totally, I don't want to say it's a mess, but it's not organized to a point where it may be easy to understand. So just being able to look at the organization now and then in the future, if it does happen, then to be able to organize it in a way that's helpful for not only other detectives to look at, but the DA or the jury.
Yeah, and this isn't exactly what I plan on doing for the rest of my life. I plan on being more in the lab area. But this has definitely helped me a lot learn how to do some of these things, get into having contacts around like Dr. Lane. She's a very nice contact to have. Um, being able to meet with some of the police departments, learn more about the procedures that they go through with DNA and the forensic side, it's really gonna help me later on learning that this is what goes into these cases and the things that they're still learning how to do with them.
Thank you. That was wonderful. One note I want to make, and feel free to drop any final questions in the chat for Dr. Lane or the students before we wind up. But we had a question about, have you solved any cases? And of course, Dr. Lane answered some of that. A good way to stay in connection with us and hear about these events when they happen, when a case may be solved because of the assistance that our students and Dr. Lane provided the police departments, would be make sure you're following us on the college's social media. We are always sharing the news articles, the interviews that Dr. Lane does. There is a newsletter that's emailed out to alumni at least 4 times a year, and we always round up the latest events on the college campus. And I feel like Dr. Lane and her students make every single edition of that just because they've been so active lately with activity around cases. So those are just some of the ways where you can hear about these things, whether you're in the local media market or not. We do always share that information out. So I'm sure there's more to come. They have a lot of cases that they work on with police. I hope we have a question, I think. We have someone who said, thank you so much for this very informative and inspiring webinar. Like Morgan, I'm fascinated by true crime. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing the information and your prospective students. This was a great session, and really appreciate you taking the time, especially knowing this is nighttime.
Thank you for coming.
Fran, did you want to jump in and round things out?
So I just want to add my thanks to everyone for being here as our guest tonight, for our amazing panelists and students. This work is so important to everyone, not just our SAGE community. I also want to remind everyone that we do these webinars once a month. Every month is a different topic, highlighting some of the amazing work happening here at SAGE. So if you're interested in learning more about the rest of the festivities, you can go to sage.edu/alumni and click on events, and they'll all be itemized there. You can also search on the main website, sage.edu, for Proudly Sage, and that will itemize every event that is happening, as well as the registration links. And hopefully we will see you again soon. Oh, there's one question that came in right before the buzzer. How many other colleges have a similar program to CIRC?
I don't, like I said before, there's colleges that do lower level exposure. So SUNY Albany, when the College of St. Rose closed, they took on the name Cold Case Analysis Center, but that's name only. Since Dr. Kunkel and I created the Cold Case Analysis Center and brought the program over to SAGE, I do not have any idea how that is run. From what I understand, it is like one case covered for the year, and the students just go through it and give suggestions to officers. It's not the same thing as a professional product. Then we have Sienna, but it's focused on DNA and genealogy, not taking the whole case into a process of analysis of many different disciplines, nor do they produce a professional product like we do to move cases forward. I can't think of, I would love to know of another college or university that does it like us, like the resource, the tool perspective, producing a product. So we're really kind of like a business. give us a case, we'll move this forward for you and assist. I don't think so. I know Maine started it. Like I said, there's so many other universities. It's a hot topic, right? But it is a lot of work for, Dr. Kunkel and I to coordinate and make sure we get that product to police. And I don't think that's truly done at this level. I have multiple teams working multiple different ways that people are killed. We got shootings, we got stranglings, we got slashings, we have a serial killer. We have all these different cases. And so the students get that exposure because they are working in these rooms with other teams and they talk amongst each other. You have that free flowing information and also helping each other. So I can't see the experiences at the same level as we have and what we produce. I wish I would know. I would love to reach out and start partnerships with other centers across the nation, but from what I understand, it's not to this level of what we do of the professional product that I was talking about earlier.